Oh, we went to school all right.
We was doing JPEGs.
It's the Going On Podcast with Rap Critic and Muse. And we got a special guest with us, ×2. We got your boys, Kill Bill the Rapper, und Rav. Say hello to the lovely people.
Hey guys, what do you call it when Lil Uzi Vert drinks a little bit of alcohol and then belches?
Fuck, I know this one.
A little boozy burp.
Alright, Kill Bill and Rav, everyone! It's an honor to have both of y'all on again for a multitude of reasons. Since the last time we've had you on, just, my gosh, the launch of Chibby Chubby, numerous releases and projects out the wazoo, and I don't think a lot of people are hip to this yet, but Pitchfork just dropped their top 200 songs of the last 20 years, and Kill Bill and Rev are all the top 20.
Dang, we weren't even hip to that.
No, we weren't. This is good to know.
This is breaking news. It's what we do here. When news breaks, we fix it.
It's because I slept with Johnny Pitchfork, the owner of Pitchfork, and he was just like, that dick too bomb. We got to put him in the top 20, you know? Before we do the podcast, like when we record podcast episodes and stuff like that, we always just like sit around and like talk for like 30 minutes just to kind of like warm up, because it's like kind of early for me, and I'm like, you know, I'm a sleepyhead in the morning, and we always talk about random ass shit. And today we talked about that time that Joel Santana, like 50 Cent called out Joel Santana for not having no teeth no more.
Yeah, Bill didn't know about this. Oh, y'all didn't know about this either?
Why is 50 Cent such an asshole?
There was like some sort of thing going on where like there was a picture where Joel's appears to be missing some teeth. Then he did that, like there was a music video with Dipset, and there was a shot where you can see he's missing a lot of teeth. And Fifth took like a screen cap of that, posted it, and I think says some like leaning ain't good. I don't know, I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, Joel Santana. I was thinking of fucking
like Carlos Santana.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yo, 50 Cent's just like, hey, yo, fuck Carlos Santana. He ain't got no teeth no more.
Gotta stop sipping
You play
lean.
guitar real good, but like, let me see that smile.
Do you remember in 2008 when 50 Cent was like, hey, look, if Carlos Santana sells more albums than me, I'm retiring. And then he fucking did, and 50 was like, oh no.
He's like, oh no, Carlos Santana, my mortal enemy.
The 50 Cent versus Kanye thing, I think he said that on purpose, obviously for many reasons, you know, to kind of like getting everyone excited about it. But he knew he was going to outsell Kanye. And like overall, internationally, he really outsold Kanye. It's just...
I thought he didn't. I thought
no, only in America.
Platinum and Kanye went 4 times.
No, Kanye outsold Fifth in the States, but worldwide, 50 outsold him by like a lot.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So, but you know, who's going to be like, damn, I sold more than you in Russia? Like, nobody gives a shit, right?
They're not looking at the China numbers, yeah.
I don't think I remember a single song, maybe one song off that whole album. Man, that song did not stick.
Yo, Technology was a real rough song, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't want to think about 50 Cent or Justin Timberlake having cyber sex. Like, isn't that what that song's about?
The whole joke of it was that, like, oh, Kanye West uses autotune, so, like, 50 Cent was making fun of him, like, oh, you're a punk, you know, you're using autotune. And then he does a song with Justin Timberlake where he uses autotune.
Was that also the same album with the really... It's hard for me to say, because it's a little tongue twister, the Have a Baby by Me, Baby, Be a Millionaire.
Have a baby by me, baby, be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Have a baby by me, baby, be a millionaire.
Damn, I forgot about that song.
Okay, that song had a catchy hook, and it was kind of
pleasant. It's a catchy hook, sure.
But it's so horrible. Like,
I mean, the sentiment,
I wanna have a baby by Fifth.
is pretty bad. I mean, not bad, shallow. It's a shallow sentiment, not a bad one. But
what's shallow about it? It's we're making life, baby.
And money at the same time. I've come to the recent realization that I don't think I like a single 50 Cent song. And I might be wrong in that.
Nah, you wrong for that. There's definitely
not even in the club.
No, fuck In the Club. In the Club is one of his weakest joints. I feel like he had some sleepers. Like Mini Man was actually pretty tight.
Mini Man. Oh, many man. That
I will
hard.
fully admit that I was turned off by the hits, and I never really did that deep of a dive. The deeper cuts might resonate with me more, but just out of the fucking like Candy Shop and In the Club and.
Yeah.
What is that one song that's real hard off the second album? Where it's like, I walk through the hood and I keep hearing her saying I'm supposed to die tonight. That song's hard, man. That song's hard as fuck.
the first few albums for 50 Cent and G Unit, like 50 Cent was the hook guy, you know, like we don't remember him as such anymore, but he had some like the Dom Perignon, like what was it? The Dom Perignon out on knee, Chris. Tanqueray and Alizé out on knee shit. Homie, I'm high all the time. I smoke that good shit. I stay high all the time. I'm on some hood shit. Those shits were so catchy. You know, even like Wangsta and 21 Questions. And the crazy thing about it back then, you have to think like the beef energy was a strong one. And not many artists would blow up off of songs that would like publicly diss people. Like Window Shopper, like on the hook, he's dissing Ja, Jada, and I think Joe, and like people didn't really do that. You don't have a song that's dissing 3 other New York dudes go platinum every time you do it, you know?
All that being said, though, I will say that like if it was just like I could go like the rest of my life and never hear Candy Shop ever again, and I think I'd live a better life.
It's garbage.
Like my thing is like, does anyone need 50 Cent's music? Like, I mean, like, it represents a very specific sort of, like, if you're in that, like, hardcore shit, but it's just, like, there's nothing in his music. There's no heart. There's no deeper, you know what I mean? There's nothing to really be gained from it, especially after his first album.
I don't really love 50 Cent's music by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm glad that generation came to an end when it did, and I wish it kind of came to an end sooner. That being said, I think it would be crazy to dismiss not only his significance within the culture, because it was definitely significant, but also that there was heart. It's just that it was a heart that many people weren't used to seeing. He definitely was the voice of the streets, and sometimes the voices of the streets is not something that's like polished and pretty, and to us it may seem ugly and horrible, positive, but it's a reflection of the reality.
I was gonna say, I think he did a very good job of like depicting like a very like classic like heartless gangster.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
I remember at first, not like feeling like, I remember actually being into him as much, especially because like, oh, Eminem is putting him on, so of course I gotta pay it. You know what I mean? It's like one of those deals.
Oh yeah,
but then it was just kind of like, but then after a while it was just like, but he doesn't have that. He's not like as lyrical a guy, so okay, it's mainly for the hooks. But like, I don't really want to hear like he doesn't have a great voice to me. You know, it's like Of course, it's that, you know, that guttural sort of you know, deeper sound to it that's really like angry. But it's just like there's not a lot of variety. And after a while, especially after the first album, it sort of became, you know, the parody unto itself. It's like, all right, how many neighborhoods can you shoot up, 50 Cent? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, things do run its course, especially when the more 2D the character that you're portraying is, the shorter the lifespan will be. And 50 Cent's character was very much, you know, like, you know, you hear the first 2 songs, you get the idea. Whereas
Robbie shooty.
Yeah, you know what? So it's like, it's not that he doesn't have an important voice in a way. It's just that it's not conducive to lots of material, really, unless he's like really being creative, which I feel like he was, especially at first when he was more hungry, because
for sure,
you know, isn't everyone. But you know, like after a while it becomes like, all right, well, you've already got the millions of dollars, but you still have to be the hardcore gangster. And another thing, I feel like he never reinvented himself. Like Snoop Dogg and P. Diddy will apparently be around forever, because every couple of years it's going to be like, oh, now I'm, you know, in reggae. Now I got 2 chicks singing behind me.
Well, he had the opportunities,
you know
right? Because he did. I mean, he definitely had some of like the more personal, like, damn, like his verse on "Hate It or Love It" was a very personal.
Love that verse.
Yeah, and it's a great verse.
My favorite verse from him. Yeah,
and it's very heartfelt. And you listen to it, and you're like, damn, okay, he's a person. And that's when he was more than just like 2-dimensional. And I think he needed to channel that a little bit more in his music. And then he tried to reinvent himself. Remember the I get money I got, where he basically was trying to take the Jay-Z route of I'm successful, but he could. But he was spinning it as the villain, because he's always been the villain, right? So he's like, ha ha ha, I have this money, motherfuckers. Whereas Jay-Z kind of has taken a different angle since then, you know?
With Jay-Z, you're supposed to be on his side because look how smart I am.
Right.
With 50 Cent, it's I'm smarter than you.
I'm cunning.
And it's
yeah,
like, you know, and it's like, it's always that with that feeling of just like, but fuck you though.
Yeah, I remember he did that whole tape dedicated to Fat Joe, and it was called "Elephant in the Sand." And it was
I remember
with his butt crack showing, and him at the beach.
One good song on it. I remember it had that one song that actually was kind of fire.
Like And that's all you need, right? Like, you need the idea of, I dedicated a whole album just to dissing you, and the big song that really disses them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember it being a big thing because Fat Joe came out with an album at the time and it moved 40,000 units. The fact that I remembered this just shows how powerful 50 Cent's thing was.
It was called Elephant in the Room or something like that.
Right,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
exactly, it was Elephant in the Room, and Elephant in the Sand had way more than 40,000 downloads on DatPiff, and so 50 was just like, see, and that was kind of funny to watch, you know? So
Let's play a real quick round of, if you had to guess, what do you think is the number one song according to Pitchfork? The best song of the last 20 years.
20
I thought you guys were
years.
joking. I didn't know this was an actual specific list.
No, it's the top 200 songs of the 2000s.
okay, let's first narrow it down to the genre, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay,
say, can we pick a genre?
it is a
Can
rap
we-
song.
Can you give us a hint?
Okay.
Okay, alright.
Okay.
I'm guessing maybe Lose Yourself, like Eminem, you know what I'm saying? Because he's one of the highest selling rappers of the decade, so they're probably going to go for
Pitchfork
something like
wouldn't
him,
be
you know?
doing it based on sales. They would be doing on the merit of
That's
the
a good
music.
point.
And not to knock Lose Yourself. It's a good song. Definitely good. There have definitely been better rap songs written in the last 20 years.
I think it's the most appropriate song Eminem can have as a, look, this is an artist to take seriously song, you know? Like,
For sure.
You don't want to put out, Brain Damage as the, look, you know what I mean? Like,
I actually think Brain Damage was kind of like significant because I don't know that
like
that
Brain
sound
Damage.
wasn't very mainstream. Yeah, that sound wasn't very mainstream.
I'm not saying it's not dope. I'm saying, like, that's not what they're gonna put.
I mean,
as,
it wasn't
you
the
know,
radio
like,
hit, sure.
Yeah, no, but like even next to like My Name Is or something like that, you would still go with Lose Yourself because that's the safer bet. That's a song with no homophobic slurs in it and shit. You know.
That being said, I don't think Pitchfork would pick like a safe list anyway. You know, I
Yeah,
feel
they
like
seem to be
Pitchfork
like a little bit
aren't
more on
like
the
that.
edgy side of like.
okay.
Hold on, I want to make a guess.
Okay.
Now I'm not okay. This is not. This may be way the fuck off.
It's gonna be Kendrick,
Okay,
ain't
I think it's gonna be a Kendrick Lamar
I
song.
think it's Kendrick,
Like,
yeah.
Do you have a specific one in mind?
Gonna be fucking I Am a Sinner. Is it gonna be that one?
What are you gonna say, Bill?
what do I think it is?
Yeah.
Something off of Pimp a Butterfly, or maybe something off. Yeah, I don't know what though. Maybe fucking. I don't know. I don't know what song is like the single of Pimp a Butterfly.
I would say something off of not To Pimp a Butterfly, but
Good Kid.
yeah, it would be something off of Good Kid.
Maybe something off a Good Kid, but I
Like,
don't know.
Mass
I couldn't
Massive.
narrow it down. My guess though is this a Kendrick Lamar song. Like I don't know. Like give me like a 40% like victory if it is that. So
Yeah, I'm thinking it has to be To Pimp a Butterfly though, because I feel like retroactively everyone's looking at that record, and so I'm gonna hinge my bet. I'm gonna be cheeky here and throw two songs out. I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, see which one?
I'm gonna go with All Right and
Okay.
Wesley's Theory.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna go with All Right. All Right is my answer. That
That
is like
sounds
my.
actually
for background, I don't think Lose Yourself was in the list at all.
Okay.
DNA was also in the list somewhere down like midway.
okay.
I think they might have been Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, might have even been in the top 10. Number one was All Right.
Okay, number one was.
Oh!
Okay, wow. Well, there you
It
go.
was all right. Hell yeah, boy, we got it.
I was so surprised you got that so fucking fast. Holy shit.
Like my immediate thought was like it had to be Kendrick. I know Bill was thinking the exact same thing because it makes sense. And
It's probably
well
'cause
deserved.
that was a big
Yeah.
that was a big song during like the Ferguson protests. And
That's
shit,
that's
know?
pretty
It
much what
came
they
out
were
at
saying.
right.
Yeah.
It was the perfect song for the perfect moment. Like all the stars aligned to make like the perfect
And
album at that time.
And I think to add on
You know what
top
I mean?
all of it, it's still like I feel like you could take All Right to any place in the world and play it, and people would be like, "That sounds good." It sounds
Yeah,
great.
you're right.
It has that message. It has
the-
that cultural
Yeah.
significance. It's the full package. I love that fucking song. Well deserved.
I'm real proud of us right now.
Yeah, I actually can't even hate on that.
Of course, we're hip hop nerds.
Is Lil B a troll or not?
Yes and no.
Well, the reason I bring up B, it isn't unprompted. I did do a term search, and while Eminem is nowhere in this top 200 list,
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Is Lil B in there?
number 194, Wonton Soup. Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay,
Damn.
it belongs.
That song's
in.
gas too.
That
They picked
song
the
is
best
real
one to
good.
do.
That's a good song.
He was with the pack. They did the Van song, whatever, and then they were just gonna fade off into obscurity. Like this, just kind of what they thought was gonna happen, you know. So then he started doing a solo career, and he was doing this thing where, and to answer his question, I don't think Little B is a troll at all. Like I don't think troll is the right word. Like I think he's a rapper who was doing something very, very weird, realized that it was funny after people started making fun of it, and then like embraced it. He talks about like based freestyling, and the idea of based freestyling is, okay, this actually like super fascinating to me. Like it sounds like stupid, okay, but the thing is like it's freestyling, but you don't think. It's like you freestyle and you just like go into this zen mode, and a lot of the times they call it based freestyling is because these dudes would be like freebasing, like they would be on coke or they'd be fucking or whatever, they'd be just really fucked up, right? And so that was like their mode, was do a whole bunch of weird drugs and just like put a microphone in front of them and just like rap for like hours on end of just like gibberish, right? It's like no longer you rapping, it's like this entity within you is taking control, like this, like your autopilot mode is rapping. You see what I'm saying?
That's
and so,
fascinating as fuck.
Muse, you listen to the 3.5 hour album where it's like every 2 songs he's talking about Figaro and the fucking same goddamn Figaro and I'm selling Jerry, still selling Fanny. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there was some like incredible fucking shit that was coming out, I'd be like, yo, what the fuck? Where's it going? I can't follow him. I don't know what's happening.
There's definitely tapes though that he does do some crazy shit. Like there's some tapes, like, because the thing is like there's that what is the song when he rapped over Exhibit B? Or Exhibit C. Exhibit B. It was Exhibit based, and he actually wrote it, and it was dope. Yeah, like it was a dope verse, and I was like, that was the thing that turned me on to him, because I remember first hearing it, and I thought it was a joke. I heard "Look Like Jesus," and I was like, oh, it's a joke. And then I heard something else. I was like, I heard Mel Gibson, and I was like, okay, this is clearly a joke, you know? And I'm not saying it wasn't. I think it's like they were just like having fun, just doing dumb shit, right? And they recorded it and they put it out, and it became like this viral sensation under this like weird corner of the internet. But then like when he actually started, I heard Exhibit based, and I was like, oh, he can rap. Like he can actually rap, but this other stuff is something else. And like I think that he knows that like, oh, I can use multis, like I can use punchlines, I can do this other stuff, but like who cares about that? Because everyone's doing that. Why don't I just do something completely different? And just like that was the thing that I think is like interesting. Now that being said, he's put out like so much bad music that like it's understandable, but like knowing the context of like when you find a good Lil B mixtape, like when you find a like Evil Red Flame, or you find God's Son, or was it God's Father? God's Father. That's what it is. When you get a tape like that and the production's really good and like he's like on, it's great. But then that only happens like 1 out of 100 tapes, but he's put out like 1,000 tapes.
So with him, I'm assuming his thing is just like, my discography is not like a concern. It's just I create, and what comes out, and if sometimes it's good, it's good.
I would say so, because like basically the way I view it is like an extension of like sonic surrealism. I feel like in the last 5 years, we've seen sort of impressionism infiltrate hip hop, and I mean it in a positive way. I may not like all the kind of music that I label as impressionist hip hop. You know, I throw people like Lil Uzi Vert in that. I feel like he was ahead of his time, because it was very much a surreal experience where it was very psychoanalytical almost, you know, where he would just say things that were in him already without thinking them through. And just as someone who majored in psychology, to me that's just like, oh, this is really interesting. This is something different, and it might not necessarily be great, but when it did work, and even with songs like Wonton Soup, yeah, I genuinely think it's a fun sounding song. It's great, but also it's just kind of the ridiculousness adds to it. I don't think he was trying to be ridiculous at any point in those songs. Like, oh, I'm gonna say this shit because people will think maybe it's funny and people will click on it. No, it felt like, oh, that's like I'm getting a glimpse into his life, probably around that time in his life. Maybe that day he ate wonton soup, and that's why the first thing came to his mind.
I remember looking up like, why do people like Lil B? And I remember finding an interview where it was like, okay, we're gonna get into it. You know what the fans like. You know what I mean? Like, what are people seeing in him? And I remember the interview. It was just like it was him saying, well, you know, I'll hear someone's name and I'll be like, hey man, what's your name? Oh, your name is Michael Scott. Oh yeah, Michael Scott. Michael Scott. I got a song. It's called Michael Scott. And I was just like, and as I'm like hearing the person describe it, it's like, it's interesting how he takes a word and repeats it and makes it, and I'm just like, what? And that was the thing that made me think, like, are you guys trolling me? Like, this is...
Yeah, it's like people who are like not into rap music or like don't understand that concept, because like if you take the concept out, if you take the like the context behind it out of it and just show it to someone, they're just going to be confused. I'm not saying that he hasn't made like some good music or some catchy music, but I think like going into it with the pretense of like, this is like, we're not just listening to this for its sonic value. It's like almost like a weird experiment.
You know,
you're right. And I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I mean, I have my weird thing. You know, I listen to an inordinate amount of Insane Clown Posse. You know what I mean? And it's just
Right,
like,
right.
why the fuck would I be listening to them? But it's just like, I don't know, man. They weirdly have some. You know what it is? I feel like the reason why I started listening to them was I remember people saying they're the world's worst band, and I remember just having that contrarian.
and you gotta see for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah.
That's not accurate. I don't think they're the world's worst band. Like, I think,
No.
what is it? Hocus Pocus? That's a pretty good song. Like, they got some good songs, you know?
My ex
but...
is my buddy.
Now they do. I mean, they have a lot of bad songs.
My ex is my buddy. I'm about to kill myself if I hear that song. That song's bad.
I think, like what you mentioned earlier, I think it was before we actually like officially got into it, that you had said like everyone had the impression that ICP were like dumb or whatever. Like, that wasn't the perception of ICP until
The meme.
Miracles.
Yeah, because of magnets.
And that was the thing that a lot of people who had never heard anything from them or even knew who they were, that was like the introduction to their existence. So when that's the very first thing you hear from them, it's like, wow, who the fuck are they? But you don't realize the like decades at that point, or like at least a decade of like really standing out against like racism and homophobia. And yeah, there's a lot of really problematic shit in there mixed in. I'm not going to deny that at all for a second.
I was just gonna say, I guess that's kind of like why Drake's been so popular for so long, is because unlike 50 Cent was two-dimensional and he channeled the like rob, shoot, stab, whereas Drake is two-dimensional, but it's like, oh, you know, relationships. And I feel like no matter
That's way
what,
more relatable to the average person.
exactly, yeah, like we'll go through our phases, maybe what we like, mafia movies, and then next generation's like we're into anime, and then the next generation, but the one thing that'll always be in, like they'll all have in common is like just the very general things that permeate our lives, such as fucking relationships, you know? So yeah, that's kind of why it's successful and it's regurgitated, and it seems that people do appreciate that, though. Almost like it's a safe thing, like, oh, we know it, whatever Drake drops next, I'm gonna fuck with it. I like that it's predictable like that, you know?
And again, like while there aren't any 50 Cent songs in the Pitchfork list, there are like 4 or 5 Drake songs in there.
What's the top one, if you don't mind me asking?
The highest ranking Drake song?
Yes.
Drake's highest ranking song is number 21, and it's "Hold On, We're Going Home."
Okay, all right, now I'm mad. Like, that is not his.
Are
best
you sure
song.
this is the top 200 of the last 20 years, or just the last decade?
Okay, man, yeah, I fucked up.
It's okay.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say there's no way Lose Yourself isn't somewhere on there. Yeah.
All right, I got some shit to edit out, but okay.
That's justified. Eminem's absence is totally justified.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like 2010 to 2019. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, we don't
There's not a lot
need
in
that.
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say like no Radiohead, no nothing like in the top 10. I was like, this is just weird. It can't be that this is.
Yeah, especially as much as like doesn't Pitchfork have a boner for Radiohead too? Like, don't they really like Radiohead?
I think they do. Yeah,
Of course they
In fact,
do.
yeah, that's one of the first things I remember learning about them.
We didn't talk about the Let's Play channel. I feel like we gotta point that out, because I think that was one of the main things that jumped off since the last time we had you on? Because I don't think that was a thing. The last time we had you on.
No, it probably wasn't. I think last time we talked with y'all, you guys were congratulating us on launching the We Don't Suck podcast. Yeah, so
my gosh,
that was a while ago. That was like
and now
a
we
year
switched
ago.
gears. Now, now we're doing daily content. Well, the thing is, since we've last talked with you guys, we went ahead and started doing hip hop full time. We both quit our day jobs because
enterprising motherfuckers.
Hey, so there we go. And we were like, well, now we're full-time rappers and we don't need to rap every fucking day to make a living. You know, we're not like going out and people like throwing money at us for every time like we sing or rap a song. So we're like,
Speak
okay,
for
we
yourself,
have a lot
buddy.
of time. We have a lot of time on our hands. So what's the best way to use it? You know, like I can sit around, watch anime with my girl all day, but that gets boring after a while. So why not play video games with my best friend?
With your best buddy all the way here in goddamn
But then my best
South
friend
Carolina.
said no, so I just hit Bill up instead. I was
Oh,
like,
thanks,
"Yo,
man.
though."
Thanks, man. I hate you too, buddy.
We never set out to do this just like, okay, this is full time. Let's work our way towards making this a full-time job. That was never the goal. We always made music for the same reason back then. We're making the music for the same reason now. It's just now we got to a point where we assessed our situation and we were like, hey, we don't need our full-time jobs anymore. Does this make sense? And it was a long conversation. You know, Bill quit his job first and then I quit mine a few months later. But we'd been talking about it for months and there is so much uncertainty in it. And so part of that's actually kind of ties in with the Chibi Chubby. And we also have another company that we've launched that we plan to do merge through separate from everything else that we're doing. Is because we're trying to diversify our sources of income, because in reality, I do feel like you can pursue what you love doing, and nothing's truly predictable. So you just kind of have to minimize the risks as you go along. And so that's what we've been doing. And it's been wild. I mean, we sent you guys Solar Flare, an EP that we recorded.
I dug it, man.
Hey, thank you. And you know, the crazy thing is, we went to LA. We knew we were going to LA for a month to do a whole lot of shit. I can't list everything that we did there because not everything's come out from there. But we did a show. We've networked a lot. We kicked it with a lot of our friends, Frank, JFC, Matt Watson, Ryan McGee. We've made a bunch of friends, Love Sad Kid, Dom, and everything. And in the process of that, we did not like intend to make a record at all. It's just that we would have moments where we come back and we'd be like, hey, we just put on some beats and be like, yo, let's record something, you know? And we in the first RV, we would like, cause we stayed at an RV at first, and
the RV,
it smelled like shit.
It was awful.
I refer to it as the Jenkum RV because it was like the shit and piss smell were so like present there throughout there. We were high off of those, of our own fumes.
listen. We go into we were late because like Rav's flight got delayed, right? Okay, so I waited at the airport for him. For like a few hours, and I'm just like chilling, like I was like playing video games on my laptop and shit. And like then like I finally get him, we get the Uber, we drive all the way down there, and I like text the dude, the Airbnb guy, and we're like, yo, we're gonna be a little bit late, you know? And he's just like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. We get there, he's not even there, like his dad is there. Okay, I think it was his like dad's, but it was an RV in the back. I think so. And we get there, the first thing he's like saying is like, you're late. Like, okay. And so then we go in that bitch, we open the door, and it looks like it's just real run down. And I'm like, oh man, this is about to be rough, you know? And he goes in, he's like showing us around, and I'm like, oh wow, we're about to be in here for a while, you know? Like this is gonna be, you know? So we're like, he's showing us around. He gets to the bathroom, which is like, toilet's great, you know? Just like, don't flush toilet paper down the toilet because it'll clog. And I was just like, at the time I was like real tired, and I was just like, yeah, okay. Not like really process it. Yeah. And then like I look over at Rav, and he's like looking at me like, did he just say that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought I misheard.
And then like we had to keep go. There was a Ralph's down there that was like our lifeblood. Okay, we would go there for food. We'd have to walk down to this Ralph's from this RV, and we would shit at this Ralph's because we didn't want to shit at the but like it just smelled awful though. Like already it smelled bad, and like if you used the toilet at all, it smelled like Jenkum. Like it smelled like straight up just like pee and poop. And I remember
the first week was just that.
It was rough, but then I remember that was at the end of that first week we met up with Frank Jab C, and he came through to record some music with us. And like I remember being like mad embarrassed and being like, yo dude, just like a heads up, it smells like shit and pee pee in there.
It was real bad because I remember trying to take the edge off. I gave him some wheat cookies and we ate those, but I think really they weren't as strong as the smell, and in the end that's what really helped.
Myself, bro.
But that's where we recorded 2 songs from the EP, and they're both produced and mixed by Frank. We were there all together, and there was just this chemistry, and it was super fun. Again, nothing really planned, and when we were recording these, we weren't like, yo, these are going to be on a tape or nothing like that. Just having fun.
It was just, we were just making music. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we made music. And like, by the way, shitting is a huge theme throughout like our stay in LA because.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I figured.
Because like on the second day in LA, we were like, fuck, we got to get a mic stand. Like we were already missing recording, right? We're like, we got to get a mic stand. We have a mic. We have all this equipment on us.
I couldn't carry the
always,
mic stand
but we
in
need a
my.
mic stand.
You just go hold it in front of him while it records.
Yeah, so we went to a Guitar Center, and Bill took a shit there too, and dead ass, he tweeted it out. I remember that.
Yeah.
And
I was so excited to tweet that. I was like, y'all ever shit? It was just like like the recurring theme was y'all ever shit in a blank, you know? And mine was y'all ever shit in a Guitar Center.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then we moved to like on the second we moved to the next Airbnb, which was a different RV in a different part of town.
Yeah.
And that one initially was great. It had this like 80s aesthetic about it. It looked beautiful. Didn't smell like shit yet. And then just it all went south so quickly. Like it just started smelling like shit and piss, and something went wrong basically. And so that was the smell we had to kind of live through for like another few days.
You, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then we eventually ended up living at Matt's place, and we put together a makeshift booth in his closet, and that's where we recorded a bulk of the record. And I don't know, some of the fans will remember this because Bill posted it on Twitter. We got really experimental with it because the house was empty and we needed stuff, and we had very few things.
Everything was hardwood floor
that we could use. It was hardwood floors. The closet just had like bare walls. There was no clothes in it. It was brand new. So luckily, Matt left a body pillow with us for company. So we used that in the corner to collect the bass and lower tones and frequencies.
Yeah, a body
and then
pillow,
for the door.
vape trap.
Also, he bought us groceries and diapers. So we used we then stuck the diapers to the door to absorb some of the sounds that way.
Oh,
and
I thought we were gonna go like we used the diapers to shit in, so
we used the diapers to shit in to recreate the RV magic.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
And
do
we
that
just
anymore.
flung them into the night.
It was wild. I miss those days. No, but. And we ended up actually creating a pretty like decent sounding environment. Like I was very happy with how it all worked out, and we recorded most of the rest of the music in there. And it was a trip. Again, we were like every day we had something to do, and we'd come back home and we'd either be so tired that we wouldn't record. We just smoke, play Neo. What was it? Neo Turf?
Yeah, we had the Neo Geo game, Neo Turf Wars, on my Switch, and we would play that every night.
We'd do that and eat Crave straight out the box.
Yeah, and Captain Crunch.
Or we'd have a little bit of energy, so we would record something and then play a game. And it was wild. We didn't have a car, and we were kind of living there by ourselves. So every morning we would walk downstairs. We were in Eagle Rock, so we had to walk all the way down the hill which was like a long walk because the house was like up high on a hill. So we'd walk down there to get Subway, and then we'd wash our clothes at this laundromat place that had 2 Neo Geo arcade machines. So while we waited for our clothes to wash, we would just play different games there. And sometimes like we did it with Frank. Sometimes it was just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
I think we did it with Dom once as well.
Yeah.
And that's like the experience. And I feel like we ended up accidentally recording a whole ass EP. And then when we were looking at it, when we came back, we were like, oh my God, this perfectly captured all those memories and the feelings and everything that we associate with it. It was just a fun time, you know? And so, but it was a moment. It was a summertime moment. And so we decided to call it Solar Flare as a result.
It was really fun capturing that moment. I also want to bring up just the fact for everyone who's listening who don't know who we are, anything about like our like weird obsession with Neo Geos, like the reason why I was so stoked to play this Neo Geo game in this laundromat is because like I literally have a song called "When I'm Successful, I'ma Buy a Neo Geo," or we have a song called that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I love Neo Geo so much, and so does Rav, and it's something we could bond over. Yeah.
SNK, you know, like when you're a kid, if you ever played the SNK games, they looked fucking better than any other games back then. They were so colorful and crazy. So you see them shits, crazy. And they were usually multiplayer too, right? You could play with a homie. So that was crazy too when you're young.
Aren't they coming out with one of those fucking like home... Like you plug it into the TV and it's got a whole bunch of them on there.
Yeah, but I think they already did one with like it had a little screen and an arcade stick and everything.
This one is
I don't know how that went.
This one's new though. This one is like it doubles as it's both a actual like you can play games on it, but it's also a controller. You can use it as a fight stick.
Yep.
That looks real sick.
We didn't even we didn't start Chibi Chubby until we got back because we knew we wanted to rebrand and we wanted to do a bunch of stuff and like start doing daily content and everything. But a lot of the planning took place while we were out there in LA. So, yeah, pursue your dreams, everyone, and just be smart about it and take your time. All these things take time. And I think what made it work for us is that we never were looking at it like, fuck, if I don't make it by the end of this year, I'm done. We were just doing it. And if things worked out, because if you keep at something that you love, you're going to get better at it. And, you know, and if luck is in your favor and you have some business acumen, then you could probably make it work out somehow.
So what you're trying to say is, this is 10% luck, 20% skill, 40% concentrated power of will.
Power of will.
Yeah, my man Mike Shinoda, he was putting that gas out back in the day, man. It was hard. He changed the world, you know.
And I guess at the end of the day, also a good takeaway and a lesson for all the kids at home is to not let the smell of your own secretions be a turnoff to pursuing your dreams.
No,
let it be the fuel.
As your fuel. Yeah, fuel to your fire, your shit fire.
You know what I mean? It's the shit work you gotta do, you know?
Oh, can we talk about the fact that, like, I know this is a real big segue, but, like, have you ever heard, like, an old Southern person be like, shit fire? Like, have you ever heard that?
Yes.
Shit fire, yeah!
Yeah. That was what this tape is. It's pure shit fire.
Shit fire.
We should have called it that.
On the album cover, it'll be like, you know, Solar Flare, a shit fire, says the Going On podcast.
Yeah, that's the full quote.
It's got like the little like overlays on the like best of edition or whatever, like, you know what I mean, the represses. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like, because I know we're doing a lot of the joking and memes and ha-has, but I want to say thank you guys for like always being supportive. And it's kind of crazy, I think, for Bill and I, it's every time we talk to you guys, it's almost like a checkpoint within our career somehow where we every time we see you, we're like, okay, so this is what we've done since we've last talked to you guys. And it's great to see that you guys have been there for us for so long, and just want to say we appreciate you.
We really do appreciate you. I'm gonna kiss both of y'all on the leg.
Y'all are a artistic type of inspiring to me, and just like you're fucking like you're the motivation, the drive. Like, I mean, you know, I'm just fucking out here with the with the YouTube channel, just trying to make that work, you know. But like, I don't know, man. Just like seeing like every so often, it's always something different, and but like at the same time, I don't want to say that because then it feels like I'm putting like an expectation. Like next time we have y'all on the show, you've better have launched a fucking
if you're
empire.
not the presidents of the United States on the next episode.
Yeah, your next fucking video better be like Kill Bill. You better be like, yo, y'all ever take a shit in the Ritz Carlton? And some shit like that.
That's the glow up I'm trying to achieve.
You ever take a shit in the White House bathrooms fucking tub?
When you weren't invited?
Sneak into the White House bathroom window and take a shit in the tub?
Infiltrate and take a shit in the
sink.
tub. The first lady's gonna have a bad time, bro.
Before we switch gears and head on into the albums, we've already mentioned so much, but is there anything else y'all want to like mention or promote?
Shit. Yeah. Yes.
Follow Aerospace and bump his music on Spotify. He's available on Spotify. Aerospace is AIROSPACE. It's my brother. That's one of my favorite rappers, my inspiration. Yeah, that has one of my muses. And also follow him on Twitter, same at Aerospace, except for the last A is a V instead of an A.
Well, y'all heard it here, folks. Check out Aerosmith with their incredible...
Aerosmith, man, they're on the come up. Yeah.
Shout out my main man. Yo, my man Aerosmith working with Run DMC, young Run DMC. But no, seriously, Aerospace makes some like really, really fucking good music, and you guys should definitely check him out, as well as the rest of X Society, everybody else who's on our collective.
Oh yeah, Square as well. Don't forget fucking Square. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, follow him at I Am Square.
Yeah.
SCUARE. Yep. Follow him at I Am Square, and he's also just Square on Spotify. So another talented musician. So that's what I would promote.
Yeah. So yeah, just everybody, all the good people, all the good folks. Also, buy my new. I don't know. I didn't really think it out this far. But
Are you currently trying to make the thing for people to buy? Wait, hold on.
Yo, buy me some new shoes. Buy me some new shoes.
Okay.
Because I got these Adidas and them shits is real stained up and real, just give me some new shoes. That's my plug.
I've got this new book. I don't really have the words yet, and it's basically just the title, but remember this for the future, and in a couple of weeks, TiVo it if you have the TiVo, and remember to play this in 2 months when I am finished with the book.
Damn, do people still have TiVos? Is that like a thing?
I thought the same thing
I know
with
they use
fucking
DVRs
Pitbull.
and stuff, but what about Pitbull?
You're like, wait a minute. What's that about?
I remember that. Were we there for that conversation? Am I wrong?
My life's a movie, and you're just TiVo, and I'm like, I think at even that point people weren't using it, and maybe that was the point. That it was like
that's like one of those bars that like right afterward he had to hit him with the old like dolly.
But boys, fucking continued success. Obviously, fucking killing it on all fronts. And I love y'all both so much. And
thank you.
You two are fucking S tier.
Oh, y'all are S. Y'all are double. Well, that sounds weird. Y'all, I love you guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh shit. We've just ruined our relationship with these guys.
I gotta go. My mom says I gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I love you guys.
Okay.
All right. Well, y'all be good now. Peace and love.
This next one was a Patreon request. Thank you to Al for requesting Soundtrack to My Struggle 2 by Lowkey. Now, I remember I had actually, like, as I was listening to this album, I remember it was like the Diaspora song. I remember like seeing on YouTube at some point and being like, oh, hey, this guy's like really spitting some, like really heartfelt, intricate shit. I had no fucking idea Homeboy was on some fucking Immortal Technique mixed with Dead Prez mixed with fucking Public Enemy type shit. Oh my god. Yo, what did you think going into this album? I want to know, because this, what was this, like an hour and a half?
It was an hour and a half, and normally that is a bit of a Yeah, for me.
Bit of a boon.
Just about everything on the album, in my opinion, was either average to good. In the beats were probably the least impressive.
You know, okay, I want to say this much. Like, I remember listening to the first song and feeling like, oh my god, such an epic beat. And then hearing the second song, Ahmed, which a great like song lyrically, especially in terms of like it's really heartfelt. It gets you to think about. I think Lupe Fiasco also did a song like this about.
I have that written down.
There's that bit of feeling like, oh, it's really cool that this exists, but then I hear the beat and it's sampling. What's that song?
It's Listen to Your Heart.
Yeah, Listen to Your Heart, and it's just like. It's a little too schmaltzy. It overplays the emotion in a way that, like, and I think he was trying to go for, like, the Dance with the Devil, Immortal Technique. Remember when he sampled where do I begin? But he sampled a really low-key part of it. But the issue is, like, he's sampling this really popular, really, like, popularly cheesy radio tune, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, like... So it just like rubs up against the reality of how, intricate and heartfelt the storytelling is, but it makes it just, it makes it feel like it's pulling at the heartstrings a little too much.
And Listen to Your Heart isn't really that song anyway. You're not fucking sampling a song known to be like a tear jerker. Overall, I think it reminded me a lot of Immortal Technique in some of the good ways, some of the not so good ways, and I'm gonna go back to just the beats are pretty basic and forgettable, which was a criticism I remember about being with Immortal Technique also, because in an album like this, that's not really what's important. What's important is the message that's being put across, the stories they're trying to tell, and a lot of these tracks, almost all of them, with a few exceptions, are strongly political. And the few exceptions, I think, because of that, feel kind of jarring. Soundtrack to My Struggle 2 starts with a spoken word intro from Noam Chomsky.
Fucking Noam Chomsky!
Philosopher, historian, social critic, and he spells out the dangers of capitalism, which is what the song is overall about. And lyrically, what I have written down here is that it reminded me of System of a Down's Prison Song, and how it was very zero frills, it was just nonstop. I'm just telling you all this important shit that I need to talk about right now. And like you said about the epicness, I liked the choir in the background.
What was that one lyric where he said, collectivize or die, protect your mind to suffer. Life is a paradise to some and a pair of dice to others. I was like, ooh. And then he says, rebel against the system that deprived you of a voice. Rebel against the hell while our survival's still a choice. I was like, oh. Like, there's so many just fucking gut punch lyrics. You know what I mean?
They're gut punch. They're not entirely, like, clever. Like, rhyming paradise with pair of dice is kind of, okay.
Well, but the way he related it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that the messages and everything he would try to put across would hit harder for me if the verses didn't feel so bloated. They're very wall to wall. Like, it's just really not a lot of room. There's not a lot of breathing room in here.
Yeah, I remember after the second verse on the first song and just being like, oh, there's a third verse too?
It's a long album, and some of these tracks do go on a bit. But like we'd mentioned before, the second track, Ahmed, along the same lines of Lupe Fiasco's Alan Forever, but there's a few choices on here that I thought kind of hurt it. For example, the Listen to Your Heart sample was super corny and very distracting. For those who don't remember or unaware, this was about that famous photo of the 3-year-old Syrian refugee that was circulated a good bit, kind of became a symbol for the refugee crisis. Another criticism I have, though, is the ending, where the line, Ahmed never knew the politicians he was murdered by, is repeated a few times, which would have been impactful without these, like, totally uncalled for, unneeded record scratching sound effects in between. It didn't sound like you were rewinding back on a record for it to repeat. It just sounded like you repeated it a few times and put a record scratching sound effect in between.
Yeah,
and it felt tasteless in the context. Like, he's criticizing those responsible for his death and responsible for the events that led up to why he would need to escape and everything in between. But he also criticized those who capitalized on his death for political gain. And I feel like one could argue that he is potentially doing the same thing.
If it was a sort of like, this was one song that was being political and the rest kind of weren't, then it would feel a lot more jarring. But I feel like in the context of an album that is like bringing up so many other like immediately relevant things, it feels like it's like another part of the soup in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I especially loved Ghosts of Grenfell. That was like a really big hitting point. In fact, didn't it come back to it again? There was like a second part.
3, if you want to count them, songs about the Grenfell tragedy. There's Ghosts of Grenfell, Ghosts of Grenfell 2.
Yeah.
And if you also want to count Neoliberalism Kills People,
which
my
goodness,
deals a good bit with that tragedy. In my opinion, Ghosts of Grenfell Part 1 and 2, they're fine songs, but I think the topic is handled way better in the last track, and at that point, since you've already talked about it twice, it kind of made the other two feel like unneeded or redundant. Like,
so
you could have just put Neoliberalism Kills People, and you wouldn't have needed the other two. In my opinion,
I felt like it all kind of. I felt like a lot of it sort of built. Like when I heard the first Ghost of Grenfell, it was just like, oh snap, that did happen. And then when you hear the second song where it's just that sort of like, these voices aren't going away, you're gonna hear like, you know, the issues that's going on. And then, like you said, when he gets to Neoliberalism Kills People, where he lays out like, this is why this happened, because, you know, these people who designed these buildings thought that, you know, they didn't give a shit about the people that actually lived there and just wanted to save costs. This is why this needs to stop. And I was like, holy shit, like, this dude just fucking laid out a whole goddamn case. So, like, I have to say, I really liked a lot of the songs. I liked a song like Islamophobic Lullabies, where he talks about, you know, like, basically making the sort of like, hey, kid who's, you know, has to deal with being bullied while being in a country that's not your own. You know, like, here's a song you can sing. You know what I mean? I love those sort of like underdog joints that he had. Children of Diaspora is on here. Another fantastic joint about, like, you know, just talking about the different people from the children of Africa that have been spread out because of, you know, different things happen in history. And then, of course, Heroes of Human History. I thought a particularly poignant track, which is like, you know, again, talking to, you know, Muslim kid and saying, hey, your history is more than just you. You know, your history is more than just the terrorists that America wants to stereotype you as. You know, like, there's so many people who have done things in history that are, you know, of your same background, of your same face, of your same look. And I think it's so cool because it's fighting back against, like, that very real, you know, way that we teach history, and especially, you know, Eurocentric schools, where it's just like, you're going to learn about America and maybe England and Spain and Germany and Italy and maybe, if we have time, the rest of the world, you know, like,
yeah.
And so I love the way he, as an artist, is like seeing his purpose in a way that it was kind of made me go like, holy shit, this is part 2? What the fuck was in part 1? Like, it was like, I just still have this much shit to say. But it felt to me like the Dead Prez album that I remember listening to and just being like, holy shit, like, these guys are like talking about being revolutionary, and they're going to show you all the different aspects of how they feel about it. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have the song that says you need to rebel against, you know, like, the racist system, but we're also going to have a song that tells you, you know, you should drink water and, like, you know, discipline yourself, and you should organize your life and things like that, where it's just like, holy shit, just like stuff that you actually just need to be a functioning person. You know, like, it's cool to have an artist who wants to, like, put that atmosphere out there of, like, I want to make music that's going to help people and actively push them to be, you know, better, and actively push them to question systems of authority and things like that. I especially love, it's funny that you mentioned track 3, The Return of Lowkey, spitting on that lyricism shit. And then, like, you know, the first song is like, yeah, I'm fire in the booth, you know, I'm the bomb and I'm exploding. And then later on in the album, like, he starts off sounding like he's gonna spit, like, another verse like that. He's like, I'm fire in the booth and I'm explosive. And holy shit, how can I say that when I know that, like, people have used bombs and explosives to, like, kill all these people, and, like, I'm using the imagery of violence because I think it's cool and I'm a part of this too. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, he just like randomly starts analyzing himself. So it's just like, it's so interesting that there are so many different facets of what's happening on this album. Again, you have a song like Letter to the 1%, which is like, you know, again, like shouting out all the people that are having to deal with the stress and all the people that are having to, you know, work and live day by day. Meanwhile, the, you know, such and such amount of people have everything and, you know, they make the world spin the way it does. You know what I'm saying? Again, points that I didn't like though were, like you said, the beat on Ahmed. Sunday Morning, I wasn't quite sure what was happening in the song. I thought it was supposed to be like about someone who lost a child, but then it wasn't supposed to be about like a soldier who like had PTSD and was like homeless or something.
As an album, I didn't really enjoy it. Like as a listening experience of something just to listen to an album, I didn't really enjoy it. I thought he sounded dull. But I guess for like the topics and the subject matter, being over the top would be insensitive, so you do need to be like in those aspects. I was like, the guest vocalist he has on Sunday Morning and Ghost of Grenfell, and throughout the album, she comes up on a few different tracks. Nothing special.
The worst song is track 11, Mac Donald Trump, which. What was the point? It was like the hook really ruined the song. Like couldn't even pay attention to what he was talking. I don't even think he was actually talking about Donald Trump in the song. Like for the most part,
he did a little bit.
Yeah, and so it felt like the fact that he was saying that felt like, well, why is he specifically calling him out? And again, you're calling him Mac Donald Trump. Oh, is there going to be some joke about like fast food in relation to this, you know, but he never really does that.
He doesn't really come around.
Yeah,
no.
He just says Mac Donald Trump, like the joke is supposed to be, get it? I added Mac at the beginning of Donald. It's like, all right.
The worst track, in my opinion, was Goat Flow. Because in that track, that's track 8, you've got the same decent verse twice in a row, and it's not that great, but you get to hear it twice. Going back to track 3, which I crave. I need to talk about this track after track 1 and 2, where it's really letting you know this is what this fucking album's going to be about. It's going to be about some pretty heady shit, some really sensitive topics. This is how the 3rd track opens. Do you think we're going to get more Lowkey material in 2016? I don't know about 2016, but I mean, it'd be hard to believe that never in his life someone naturally that talented, that brilliant an MC with music just flowing through his veins. I'd be very surprised if he never comes back. It's just the most dick-sucking, and you get this guy, Charlie Sloth, and he shows back up again on Goat Flow, and he's just losing his fucking mind as oh my god, this is so fucking incredible! And you're doing that on a track where it's a meh verse twice in a row, and the lyrics are like, what the fuck ever, and that's the track where, yeah, it's the Goat Flow, so I need to do the speed rapping where I go way too fucking fast and you can't even follow what I'm saying, but then if you actually read along to what I am saying, it's really not that impressive or important anyway. I also gotta add that it doesn't help that after just the biggest lead up, like, oh boy, what you got for me? The first couplet rhymes booth with truth, and it's like, wow. Way to drop the ball, like, fucking immediately. When I'm in the booth, you know, I'm spitting the truth. It's like, oh, come on. Really? After such a brilliant MC, someone so naturally talented, like, you do show talent on this album. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but holy cow, that's how you open the song, like, wow. And this is also the track where we just have, I thought the chorus was okay. But I could do without the "we want Lowkey." Alright. It's a decent brag track. Like, it's not that great. And the beat's meh. And, like, everything is just kinda whatever. So, when you hear that, it's like, alright, like, that's fine. But it does pad the song to be over 7 minutes, which, that's too much. Like, we got that, and we also got the outro, which is hyping up the first album that we didn't hear, but it's so much hyping up on the 3rd track, which is weird. Like, maybe get that out of the way first, not after 2 really serious tracks.
Yeah, it does seem kind of backwards. You think you'd want to get I'm the best rapper. Okay, now let's talk about serious shit.
Now I'm gonna prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about serious shit, but let's not forget that. I mean, I am that guy.
Yeah. So on one track alone, we have just like over a minute of people hyping up how much of a naturally brilliant and talented MC he is. Are we treated to clips of people chanting his name, which again in a certain context would be fine. And then at the very end, we have someone hyping up the other project, and it's like, all right, this is all unneeded padding, so much dick sucking, which I get, hyping yourself up, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that, I don't have a problem with being cocky, or confident, or, being proud of your skill or accomplishments, that's fine, but on a track like this, it just didn't feel necessarily earned. I did want to comment about the Ghost of Grenfell tracks. I'm gonna rephrase my earlier point. Not that neoliberalism kills people makes the other 2 like invalid or unnecessary. I think they all have parts that maybe combined would make one really great track. Like Ghost of Grenfell has a spoken word outro that lists victims from the fire.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought that was a dope tribute. Like, I thought that was great. But then when it came around again for the second track, I was like, okay, this is fine. Like, I think it kind of said a good bit with the first one.
You think he was laying it on a little thick?
Laying it on a little thick to have 3 songs basically about one topic is like, I don't know. I mean, then again, you go back and you listen to so many old like political albums and like every track is about Bush and about Iraq.
For me, I feel like the journey of this album was enjoyable enough for me to overlook the wonkier beats and less than impressive lyricism. That did sort of reach into that logic territory of if I'm rapping fast, that's what's impressive, as opposed to, taking the time with each line to make it, dope. You know what I mean?
Overall, I came out with a 3. What did you come away with?
I actually gave it a 4.5. I really dug it.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like the messages were just so intricate and unique, and so like it was just such a political album in a way that like I'll put it to you like this: I really enjoy Green Day's American Idiot album, but at the same time I'm like, he didn't really say that much political, but it is definitely a fuck yeah, fuck the system, I'm just angry type of joint that you need when you're a kid. You just need that. But this feels like the adult, okay, let's actually break down why this is bad and fucked up. And I feel like this is something that's kind of been missing from music that I feel like needs to, I want to let this live too, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. Absolutely. Up next, we got a new album review. It is the new Danny Brown. I've never seen a track list where it was shared originally by producer Paul White, who shared just the rundown and just all the names attached to the project, from obviously himself to Run the Jewels and JPEG Mafia, and was a little let down by this. I don't know about you.
Oh, most definitely really supremely let down. Like, the first thing I wrote down was that all of these hooks are so bland. Like, the first song is Never Look Back, I Would Never Change Up. Never Look Back, I Would Never Change Up. Track number 4, 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it. I don't care about nothing. And it's like, and that was the one that had fucking Run the Jewels on it, so I actually, enjoyed it more, but it's just again, it was just the attack of the lazy chorus. Fucking Best Life was just, cause ain't no next life, so now I'm trying to live my best life, living my best life. And fucking Negro Spiritual, you gon' get what you ask for, you gon' get what you ask for, It's just all these super basic choruses. I think he's a creative guy, and I think it's bullshit that, he can't come up with weird scenarios now that he's more sober. No, I think he's a creative dude. I think it's just maybe just something you need a battery in your back. You know what I mean? And I feel maybe he's in a good place and he just doesn't have that in general. I know there's the whole stigma of what, no junk, no soul, what once Miles Davis or something like that gets off drugs, they're not as good anymore. But it's just I don't think that's it. I think it's just when you're in that, you have things that you're actively, that are going around in your brain more often, and maybe you put them out more. But it's like, I think he's still the same type of creative person. I think it's just, there's nothing right now that's really driving him. Because I'm like, all of these tracks, they all sound the same. There's maybe one or two moments where he says like a weird story, but like, that's basically it.
The year it came out, I think it was 2015 or 2016, Atrocity Exposition was one of my favorite albums of the year. The Danny Brown, Paul White collaboration. Fucking dope beats from beginning to end. Everything was so out there and just like challenging, weird, very super creative. And I'm not trying to blame, like you were saying, any type of like sobriety or cleaner living or just better living in general on what we got here. Because I mean, Best Life, Savage Nomad, I think those were the tracks I gave the highest ratings to. Those were my two favorite tracks. I thought those were fine. Best Life, when I heard it the first time, it didn't hit me as strong. Maybe it was because it was the first track I heard. It's like a leading single.
Well, like, when I heard it, all I could think of was just like, there's already a song that kind of did that last year, and it was way better, and it was sillier and fun. And it's like, why aren't you being silly and fun? Like, come on, man.
I think it was because, like, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was like, But then in the context of the album, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm digging this a bit more, because I really like the sample and the beat on.
I like the sample on Theme Song, where you hear the, so still. That was really weird.
I really like Theme Song. I liked there was the creepy whispering. I like that there was just, like, a dude yelling in the background at, like, the end of some of the lines. It's like, everything about that just kind of had, like, a weird feeling.
It felt like it was part of that Atrocity Exhibition sort of style of, I'm this weird guy and I rap over weird shit because that's just what I do. Like, I think I had a similar journey to you, right? Where it was like, wasn't really into him at first. For me particularly, his voice just grated my nerves.
It definitely takes some getting used to, yeah. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, but then when we had to listen to Atrocity Exhibition, like, it all just clicked. And it was just like, like you could hear the creativity and the weirdness of his voice felt like it matched the world that was happening around you in the music, But with this, it's like, he still kinda has the voice, but he's definitely toning it down. And, like, he's not even doing the normal rap voice. He's just doing, like, the hype voice, but not all the way hype. You know what I mean? Because you heard on the other album, there were points where he, like, stopped doing that voice and just rapped normally. But, like, on this album, he does it, but doesn't amp it up to the crazy degree that you hear on some of, like, my favorite songs on Atrocity Exhibition,
Charge Up, Theme Song, and Dirty Laundry are 3 songs in a row where I like just about everything on the track more than him.
Yeah.
The beats are cool, the atmospheres are good, the samples of whatever's going on are super interesting, but the delivery to just like the lyrics, not really, like on Theme Song especially, there was so much going on that it distracted the hell from Brown. Like, he was the least interesting thing there.
But it's like, when you hear him, if he's not saying it, he's like, cause these bars on deck ain't gotta shake my ass. You the real definition of ants in your pants? That was weird, but that wasn't the right type of weird.
That wasn't the weird I was hoping for. Can we just, oh man, 3 Tiers.
That Kanye sample at the beginning.
3 Tiers is the tragedy of the album. Because what you've got is Danny Brown doing a meh verse.
Yeah.
And a meh chorus. Then you got fucking LP.
Oh my god.
Lighting shit on fire. and then Mike's verse is just kinda...
Yeah.
He does have one part I have written down, though. I said, fine wines, fine dine with dimes and nines. I got an Einstein mind, and I still tote iron. I'm a PIMP in my own rhyme. Space age gorilla pimping out the cage with mine. I was like, okay, cool. But I still think, like, LP was, like, the star.
Oh, what did you say? Stuck in a rude mood, the fuck shit approacheth. Like we believe in nothing, Lebowski, there's no motive. And you hear in the background, yes, Lebowski. You believe in nothing, Lebowski.
There were times in Atrocity Exposition, like I remember explicitly there was one track where Danny bites a bar from from B.O.B. The cure for cancer, cure for AIDS. He does that part on the last album. And then on this track, he tries to do the we did the Humpty Hump and the Burger King bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, look, that had a really big effect the first time, but like I've heard that, and you repeating it doesn't have the same effect. So I'm sorry, that doesn't fucking cut the mustard. Get it?
Yeah.
Burgers. Belly of the Beast, though, you do 2 verses on this track. One of them is a recycled verse from 2013?
Yes!
Look, dude, if you don't care, just say you don't care and go. Because that's the vibe I'm getting.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Because it's like, come on, man.
Like, if you don't want to be here, like, just fucking say it, and we could try this again. We could fucking rain check. Because I'm not really getting I really have my fucking heart in this kind of vibe.
What's that one lyric? He goes like, the weird rhyme, he goes like, I ate so many shrimp, I got iodine poisoning, a hose on my dick because I look like Roy Orbison.
There are some times he forces a rhyme. I remember there was another part in another song where he says something like, I ignore you like an email from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Like, alright. You got JPEG on a track, and he, like, added
One of the
nothing.
better produced beats, honestly, I felt.
And then you got Nego Spiritual, where JPEG is on there, just kind of sounding like Pharrell.
Dude, I thought that too. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then it felt like he couldn't keep up the impression, because it was like, he was like just barely doing it, and it felt like he would stop at certain points, like, yeah, we just trying to eat.
The worst track on the album, in my opinion, is the title track. Know what I'm saying?
It's just that name is just so like there's nothing going on. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like what? How you gonna make that your album?
It's fucking Ernest. It's, you know what I mean, Vern? That's the fucking album. How he didn't do a fucking Ernest reference is, a missed opportunity there.
Dude, that really is a missed opportunity. He would be the type of person.
Oh, fuck yeah! If anyone is gonna reference Ernest P. Worrell in 2019, it's Danny Brown, and he didn't.
I'm on my shit like Ernest P. Worrell. I feel like he has to have already said that.
I'd mark the fuck out! No, but that was just such a dull track, whack lyrics like that. Like halfway through, I was like, you could skip this shit. There's nothing here.
Yeah, what was the one lyric in the other song where he goes like, Stone Temple Pilot crashed into the wall while listening to Wu-Tang and rubbing on my balls.
Who can relate?
Woo! I think I ended up giving this album more credit than it deserved. I ended up giving it a 3, which feels like more than it should get.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.
It's not impactful. Out of the 3 albums we reviewed, Triple X or 30, Atrocity, Exposition, and this is by far the weakest.
Yeah, like by a long shot. Like I remember not still kind of getting acclimated to his voice on Triple X, but like there were at least interesting moments. Like and I think it's interesting because I remember Danny Brown, who'd said like, hip hop is like the new jazz, so we should be doing weird shit and trying to offend you and doing all this shit because that's what jazz was. And it's like, I didn't hear any of that energy at all here, except maybe save like the last track where it was like an interesting sort of jazz fusion thing that he was rapping over. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, that is kind of like his thing to rap over weird stuff and make it like that. But it's like, but he wasn't doing that for most of the album, though.
Regrettably, that about wraps it up. For this week's episode of the Going Off podcast, big thanks, as always, to our boys, Kill Bill and Rav. Making big things happen. They got Chippy Chubby, their Let's Play channel, their podcast, We Don't Suck, and their upcoming mixtape. Keep an eye out for that. That's Solar Flare. We're definitely privileged to have such super cool, super nice, and just like overall just really cool, creative dudes in our circle that we could just have on and shoot the shit and talk about hip hop for like over an hour with. And as for the first album we reviewed, that was a Patreon request. But if you would like to request an album now, we use Ko-fi. So head on over to that's ko-fi.com/Goin off. That's GOINOFF. It is a one-time $50 donation, and you're going to request an album to be talked about, reviewed in depth on the show.
I am actually working on some new music.
That's right.
I believe
yeah.
y'all might have heard the Royal Jelly snippet, at some point.
Hey.
We still get in the studio working on maybe something a little themed to my one of my favorite TV shows. But
you know.
You'll see what happens as it rolls out.
You're doing a fucking Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
Not quite.
I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
I'm going to rap the Bartman the way it should have been rapped.
I was just going to say, I'm going to go ahead and give you some credit. From what I've heard, it is definitely a step up from, what the fuck did we listen to? Oh, the Yellow album. That's right. Spoiler. We did get a request for Simpsons Sing the Blues, and we'll get to that.
I appreciate that you letting me know that the song that I created is better than the cheap Simpsons novelty. I will take that praise for everything that it's worth.
It's a low bar, but you know what?
But if I cleared it, I cleared it.
I'll take it. Until next week for the Going Off podcast, I'm Muse.
And I'm Rap Critic.
Yeah. She be all up on my sack. Yeah, I'm smoking a sack. Yeah, I be smoking my sack. Yeah, I be smoking my own genitals. Put my balls inside the pipe. Then I be smoking that pipe. Then yo bitch, I pipe. Then yo bitch give me pipe. And then she pipe in my ass. And then I fuck on her dad. And then I get me the bag. And then I go to Baghdad.